What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles, welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. So yesterday, big G.I. Joe Classified series dump, bunch of pre-orders. Very excited to get Doc, Jinx, Dreadnought, Torch in particular. Some very key, very necessary figures for me in my collection. And we got some retro renders. We got to see Beachhead, uh, Snow Serpent, the Cobra Eel, and the Cobra Ferret with Scout. Nice small scale vehicle to add to the collection. Got some name only reveals: Frag Viper, Saw Viper, and Dial Tone. I always say it the way Mainframe did when Arise Serpentor Rise and you're playing the video games in the pit. Wrong again, Dial Tone. So very excited about those and made some pre-orders right away because some of these were some very essential characters and figures to get for me. There was one that I was hoping to see that we did not. And not that this figure had been mentioned, teased, or name announced is coming in the line, but just one was really hoping to at least get a name drop. And that, of course, is my guy, Flint. And not just one, because we already got one. I'm talking about a retro style Flint, one that harkens back more to his original look, not the updated, modernized, classified series take. Now, I thought Flint and Lady J, when they came out, they were part of the shift to much more of a classic look and not the ultra modern tech version that we got in the video game that we used for the first wave or two of classified series. And over time, as we started to see more classic looks of characters, talking Retro Duke, Scarlet, Cover Girl, Sergeant Slaughter, Heavy Artillery, Roadblock, Spirit, Mud and Junkyard, etc., I'm really starting to go, hey, I need my retro Flint. He's my favorite Joe, so what I want to see. And I've done this very often with DC characters and figures, like what's the definitive version of this character? And I was thinking, well, what do I want to see with a retro Flint? What would make this my end-all, be-all figure in my classified series collection? So I decided I'm going to take a look back down memory lane, break down all of the significant looks of Flint, and of course his one true look, not the Echo Warrior version, not going to count that, and Desert Paratrooper version. And I'm just sticking to original flavor Flint to decide how Hasbro, not that they are soliciting or need my help, can come up with the definitive Flint figure. So let's go way back to 1985, a number. It's another number. All right. And that's not 1989. I know. I just had to work with what I got to work with. Anyway, this is Flint, the real American hero version. And most of these pictures come from our good friends at 3djoes.com. And others, I'll try to make sure I distinguish them, also come from yojo.com. But Flint, right away. I mean, this design is perfect. I mean, the black shirt, because for the most part, the Joes were all green. And, we're starting to see a little bit more colors pop up. We had Snake Eyes, of course, in all black. But most of the Joes still stay within a green, light green, khaki color scheme. Flint stood out because this is another good guy, rocking black. And everything with his design just really appealed to me. I mean, we've got the shotgun shells here. Excuse me, definitely a safety hazard, but that just looks cool. It's like this dude is ready. He didn't have to go fumbling into a pouch. All of his weapons, his ammunition right there. For whatever reason, I dug the slightly slit glove where, it's not fully all the way wrapped up in there. It's got a little cut in there. And for whatever reason, I just thought that was really cool and just added so much to his design. Let me zoom it in there so you can see more of what I'm talking about. It's got his beret. It's not raspberry, but it's really cool. It's got a nice little decal or badge, not a decal. It's a badge on there, and that looks cool. He's got his wing. I think that's a paratrooper medal. But that also looks cool. For whatever reason, I thought the wash was also great. And you got a wash, got brown gloves. Just the color scheme of Flint is cool. And the camouflage, I love the way the belts draped on his outfit too. So we got one is regular size and just regular fit. And then the other is kind of slightly askew. I just love the double belt look for him. More bullets. And these are for, no doubt, his revolver or pistol. And I just love Flint's look. Now, of course, a lot of times we've got the card art and then the figure might be a little bit different. But with Flint, what you saw here is basically what you got with the figure. And I mean, I love this outfit, this design. As I'm gonna pull up some of my Flint figures, I still have my Real American Hero original version Flint figure. I just don't know where he was, and it was gonna take days to uncover where I have my soul holdouts of Joe's. Anyway, so Flint looks really cool, and just the whole aspect of him. But one thing that I definitely wanted to point out was Flint stood out from so many of the other Joes, and Duke was one of the first, but Flint went even further with that. Let's go all the way to 3D Joe so you can see. Flint actually has some character here, and you'll see it right away. It's his smirk. Flint has a smirk, and most of the Joes were so neutral. Their faces were very stoic. Flint was, yeah, I know I'm going to whoop all these Cobras that come through. And it also played into his file card that Larry Hama wrote. It said, we thought Cobra had us in a stinking dungeon for good. So we didn't know what was going down. We heard that chopper coming in and all the heavy hardware going off like the 4th of July. And somebody kicked the door down our cell. And when the smoke cleared, there was Flint with that lopsided grin saying, come on, boys, we're going home. So there was a real personality right away associated with Flint. And you see it, a little lopsided grin. And I don't know why, but that just did something. I was like, oh man, Flint is really cool. He's the only dude got a little bit of a little side of the people's eyebrow too. Flint just had so much personality in his head sculpt, and you see it with the figure, and it's just really cool. Like the blacks, the little red tops here on his shoulders, pauldrons, I guess you can call them pauldrons there too. The belt holds up just fine. It looks really great. Nice details going with that. So the great design carried over just fine with the figure itself. And also love the fact that his boots had a little bit more character to them. So I tried to figure out what this was. Maybe it's just part of the boot design. But I love how we've got a little green element here, and then the rest is all black. That's cool. And this, of course, does not remove. None of these pistols were removable back in the day, but it was just there in case Flint needed something. He's covered. Even the Real American Hero figure held true to the card art. So this glove is split open down at the bottom. And I think it's funny because I never noticed that the watch also has that split thing going too. So it's not fully wrapped around, but whatever. Shotguns, all green, whatever on that. I love this backpack, maybe because it stayed on so easily. Not so the case with way too many of my classified series figures, but the smirk, what sold me on Flint. It was like, this guy gets it. He's all about beating Cobra, and he's pretty cocky about it. And then with the cartoon and then the comic book, Flint just zoomed right away, right to the top. Such a cool Joe, such a cool character. And I just thought he showed out really well and really cool. And in terms of my definitive figures for Flint, we're going to take a little trip down the road to some other incarnations of Flint. And I'm not going to factor in the Tiger Force version in the various repaints that we've seen using that original Real American Hero mold, but I thought that one really covered a bunch of things. Let's take a look at a more detailed, more intricate scale, and that's where Sideshow Collectibles was doing their G.I. Joe figures, 12-inch, all fabric outfit attire. That's pretty cool. I mean, this is a pretty nice looking version of Flint. And you see here, he's got the beret, he's got all the stuff, the metal here, the red on the shoulder pads, the shotgun shells, looking in real action. Got this, the sleeves up to a certain amount, the wash, the gloves. I mean, it's Flint. And they did a really good job of covering all this stuff with him. A little bit more detailing on his harness, his pouch. So the belt serves a little bit more purpose. But Flint looks cool. I mean, this design just carries over really well, no matter the format. Just make sure everybody knows it's Flint. Now, I've seen some different versions where Flint's t-shirts showing a little bit, his white t-shirt. Not the case with the Real American Hero, not with this one. But I didn't think that was bad. Now, the reason this one is not my definitive Flint, why I was not in a rush to get these Sideshow G.I. Joe figures, was simply because the head sculpt. And this made Flint look a little crotchety, a little upset. Get off my yard. What are you doing here? And I don't know. I kind of think of Flint sort of kind of as a James Bond of the crew, where he's smooth, a little savvy. I mean, the cartoon played into that too, but even in the comic book, Larry Hama really wrote Flint like a dashing, daring character who knew he didn't look like a bum and considered himself quite the ladies' man. So I really liked Flint. I thought he was cool, but the head sculpts that we started to see on different versions of him didn't really hold up to that. Now this one, the angry, I'm mad at the world head sculpt didn't really fit in with what I consider to be Flint's look. So anyway, this Sideshow version was pretty cool. You can still track him down, even though he's sold out on Sideshow collectibles. A little bit more expensive now, but it's a pretty solid one. I think they did a really good job of interpreting Flint with his outfit, with his whole look in 12-inch form with detailed cloth. It's just a head sculpt. Doesn't work for me, brother. So then let's take a look at some other looks of Flint just to get a better sense. And like I told you, we are not going down this pit of Echo Warrior Flint. But man, that outfit is garish and just insane. If we get some Toxo Vipers, if we get Cesspool, I may want to get Flint, but I need that head sculpt better. Like that is key for me with the Flint figure. And this outfit's wild. I don't know how much Echo Warrior we have out here in this channel's G.I. Joe lore, but yes, it's not for sure my favorite look for Flint. And then we have another wacky look for him that I definitely don't consider as part of my definitive looks for Flint. That's the Desert Paratrooper Battle Corps version. This is his fourth figure, and this is just a weird look. It's funny because the file cart art actually shows that, hey, Flint's still rocking the beret. It's just tied up underneath the same flap that Dusty has. He's got these big goggles. The figure does not have this beret as a removable option from the rest of it, which I think would have helped me get into it a lot more. I got into a point where I was selling off Flint, I mean my G.I. Joe figures in general, but I got back into G.I. Joe and was like, oh man, I want all these figures again. And this was the version of Flint that I picked up. So I got all the Battle Corps versions of these guys, and I felt so dirty even then picking up these half-tail versions of my favorite characters. And like, ugh, hate this look for them, but it was Flint, so I got it, and eventually sold it off later to somebody who was more than willing to take all my Joes for a much cheaper rate than I paid. Anyway, so that's the alternate versions of Flint. We're not going to include those in this definitive take, but one that when Hasbro decided it's time to make a change, let's bring G.I. Joe back. I really was interested when they did these Valor versus Venom, and I'm just using that as a blanket thing. It was Cobra, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero versus Cobra. They put them out in 2-packs to make it easier for play patterns and all that good stuff. Had comic books included. These were pretty fun figures. I feel like people don't really talk about this iteration of G.I. Joe, but I liked them. I thought they had some really cool takes on the old school Joes and some really fun original characters that I need to do a top 10 list on eventually, because there are a lot of figures I'd like to see from this era done in figure form. It came packaged with Baroness. And you can see we've got basically the classic elements of Flint with this figure, a little bit more streamlined. This is from my friends over at joeaday.com. So here's Flint. He's got the Hasbro H on the belt, and instead of shotgun shells, they're gone now. They realize that's a safety hazard. He now has just a few bullets along with his handgun up here in his holster. And this figure captures the basic elements of Flint, I think, pretty well. And one thing that really stood out to me with this figure that I thought was really interesting was, even then, Hasbro made sure this the sleeve is rolled up past the elbow. For whatever reason, that is a key element of Flint to me visually. He's got to have it all the way up. Like he is about to get down and dirty, throw down with Cobra, and he doesn't have time to have a sleeve that's lower. So that's important key to note. And you see back here, they were even throwing in the knee pads at that point. A little bit extra protection. It makes sense, but I like the cleaner look of just the bare legs, not bare legs, but just the no armor, just seeing all that cool camouflage. He's got big boots. We've lost the green on the sides, so that's something I kind of miss. I like the fact that it came with a basic M16, something he could use pretty easily, hold well. And again, I like the head scope. I think that captures Flint pretty well. You got the decal, the metal here, not metal, but all the other distinguishing elements. They got the cross belt, but they don't have the detailing on it like we got with the real American Hero figure. So thought that was interesting. But that was one I was pretty excited to get because they didn't do anything funny and change up any new looks for Flint with that one. So then next up, we have, there we go. Let's get all these windows together. All right. We get, this is also from Yojo.com. This is Flint in his version 11 figure. Now, this was part of the 25th anniversary of G.I. Joe. And this is Flint's 11th figure. And this one I actually have on my person. So you can see this one. And I think this is a really, really great version of Flint because it captures basically all of the detail that I liked about this. So you see the sleeves, they're rolled up past the elbow. The gloves, short. I'm trying to see if they have a little cut up. They don't. No slit there, but he's got the shotgun for sure. No M16 here. The camouflage on the pants, perfect. And it shows up pretty nicely. There we go. The belt also done up really, really nicely. And I like how that turned out. The head sculpt is pretty good as well. Man, I'm gonna work this out. Anyway, so Flint, really good figure. This one is solid. I don't know what happened. I think I've lost some of my accessories. No, this one's all intact. Pistol on here comes off, so if you wanted, Flint can go holding both of his weapons. I think in terms of updates, this is a really, really good figure. I think Hasbro knocked this out all the way. The backpack also looks good. The head sculpt, very solid. I mean, this is a really good anniversary version of Flint, and yeah, just really solid figure. Let's see if you can see this detail here. Anyway, there you go. So that's Flint. And version 11, 25th anniversary, very good. I think the shirt might be buttoned up a little bit too much, but other than that, great job on this one. And so a very, very effective version of Flint. And next up, it's time for another update in Flint. And this is when Hasbro was kind of like, oh shoot, we're running out of interest in our G.I. Joe Real American Hero line. And this is when, you know, so many other lines were in 6-inch form. And it was cool to get these 3.75-inch updated sculpts and superior articulation and more detail. But it just felt like maybe it was time to move to another tier, a new level, if you will. And so we got in 2014. So this was right around the time where Hasbro on the Marvel Legends team was like, let's bring Marvel Legends back and let's really go all in with them. Hasbro's going, let's keep cranking out these 3.75-inch G.I. Joe figures. And this one is from the Danger at the Docks set, part of the 50th anniversary line. And it also came with the Eel, Vamp, Mark II, and the Night Raft. And I also have that figure. And this one is different, a little bit more sculpting, definitely better articulation than previous Flint figures, but not quite as good. I didn't think the head sculpt is okay, but not my favorite. You can see the hat has the beret, not the hat, has that detail. There we go. I think you can see it. Gloves, but they don't have the cut either. Shotgun shells back intact, a little bit bigger on this harness piece. And this harness has some really good details. Got a canteen and a little sheath for a knife. I don't know where that other knife is. It is gone, missing. I have the one here on the boot and the removable pistol. That's good. Shotgun, big one. And you'll see this one a little flawed because here the sleeve is down past the elbow. And I don't know why, but that just makes a difference. And I think it's because Flint works out and it's better to have more of that showing there than the sleeve hanging down so low. So of course, that's this one. I think this is a pretty solid one. I really like this figure, so I had it in my collection as my Flint for a long time. But I was like, well, let me get this one because there was a new Lady J, and I was like, well, which one should I go for? I just decided to get both of them. So I have a cartoon hanging style area where I have characters that I have multiple figures, and I just have another Flint Lady J just because two of my favorite shows. So then we're like rolling through, almost done with these different versions of Flint. I can kind of feel like you know where I'm going. It's like, time to make some changes. Now, Hasbro kept trying to reinvent and figure out what worked, what made sense for G.I. Joe. And I don't know why no one just said, hey, let's just do 6-inch figures like everybody else. But we got the Sigma 6 version of Flint. And this is from Figure of the Day. Sure, give my proper Reddit. The figure in question. Sorry about that. So this is Sigma 6 Flint. It is so different than every other Flint. No beret. And I think Lieutenant Stone is the one figure in this line that has it. He's got hair hanging down like he's a brooding loner. Nothing is pretty much what you just expect from a Flint figure. No shotgun, no black shirt. He's rocking gray and blue and just interesting looks. He does have the gloves, so that's cool. Brown boots, no green pattern there, but I guess you could if you wanted. I really like the Sigma 6 line though. So, but I didn't get this Flint because it was such a grand departure from every other Flint figure I had. So anyway, this is what he looks like there. I don't think there's anything to take from that, but I just wanted, just for historical record's sake, to include that one. Now, we get, all right, now I'm human. Great. The classified series version of Flint. You can see right away that there's some elements that are really cool with this figure. And of course, I have that, still have it in my collection. It's my Flint for my G.I. Joes right now. So he's got the body armor, and the body armor is fine-esque. Not really loving it now, but it has the shotgun shells. I mean, this is one where it's like when it came out, great. This is so much more a real American hero look than what we'd been getting from this line. But now I'm ready for retro, and I need the belt, the gold buckles on both sides. The holster is here. I kind of wouldn't mind seeing it lower. No knee pads, don't need those. I think the camo, they did a much better job with Flint than they did some of the other ones. But yeah, let's get the boots. Let's ditch the shin guards here and let's go full on, have our two-tone. I kind of like what they did. They were trying to simulate that with having the armor be black and then this brown, but nah, just go classic version look with that as well. Take these sleeves, let's roll them up past the elbow. Got the gloves, got the watch. The watch actually does go through all the way. Shotgun fits on the back, and I like that, but I do really like Flint's backpack, so I'd like to see that incorporated in the next one. Of course, with this version of Flint, the big thing is his head sculpt. He looks kind of brutish, like he kind of looks like he'd be hanging out with Big Ben. Like he's been in a lot of fights in bars and all that stuff. Right, it does come off unless I super glued it on. So it's got a little slick back here. I don't like that look either. It doesn't quite seem to fit with my take on Flint. Don't mind the scar. I think that does look cool for him. Let's see. Yeah, anyway, let's go to the official pictures. This way you can maneuver around my poor camera aiming just fine. All right, so here we go. We have the classified series Flint. Definitely one of my favorites before they fully transitioned over to let's go all retro all the time. These looks, and you see the scar here. I mean, he looks like he's an old boxer or a young boxer. He's been doing a little bit of MMA on the side where he's 19 with the Joes. His face has a lot of great character. It's rugged. I think this would actually work pretty well as a replacement for Lieutenant Falcon. So if I do get this retro Flint, I'm going to probably switch those heads and put this on the Falcon because I think this works better. And we already know he can also fit a beret just fine. So no worries on that end. And you see the detailing on the vest. I mean, this makes sense. I mean, let's get him some armor if he's going to rock shotgun shells, but it's just too encumbering for his articulation. So I can't really move well with that torso. That's what I want the shirt back. I already mentioned the sleeves. Let's pull them up to about here, and we can fix that. Watch is great. Gloves. I do want the whole cut there. let's get this more detailed. I mean, all those medallions on that buckle that we had before. I want to see that full look for Flint. And this is really interesting to me how this version is a really great update of the Real American Hero version, but it's just not enough now. I mean, I really want that whole old school look. Here's another look at Flint with the full presentation. He's got the beret on, and got the GoPro right up there on that shoulder pad there, so you can see it in full action. So that's kind of cool. Definitely like that. And everything else is pretty solid. Just these belt buckles of now, I don't know why they bother me, but they do. And you can see he's got his medal there, but most of it's obscured because of the vest. But yeah, I mean, Flint is almost there, just not enough for me anymore. Fortunately for Hasbro, they don't have to really work too hard to improve on this Flint figure because they have one figure who immediately could work. There's just a quick change they have to do, but they can just repaint it. And this was a figure when he was revealed. I was like, oh shoot, I could buy this when he goes on sale because most of them do. Swap out a few parts, and I'll have my retro version of Flint, but I still wanted a new head, so I decided against it. But Recondo basically has all the design elements that I want for a retro Flint. He's got the sleeves rolled up past the elbow. He's got the t-shirt. So, I mean, he's really ready to go. I am almost positive this piece here is separate. So just have that shirt going all the way down, and with the double belts, I don't think it would matter anyway. He's got the pants, and they essentially are the same deal. And you just repaint them, maybe throw a holster on the right leg. And, the boots are pretty much exactly what you'd want anyway. I don't think they've designed new boots. I don't really need them to, but I think these will work just fine. So Flint could really be based off of most of Recondo and just give him, I don't know if I don't think I dislike the shotgun. So I think that one's fine. You reuse. He just needs a new head, one that's a little bit more dashing, unless, hey, I've been in a fight and you should see the other guy. Now that does still kind of work with how Flint was portrayed in the comic book. He's a bit of a brawler too, but he didn't take as much beatdowns as this classified series figure would otherwise indicate. So that kind of leads to the question, which is the definitive Flint figure right now? And shockingly, I mean, we've had so many different versions of this character in figure form, but to me, the definitive one, still this guy, which is wild. I mean, we've got figures like this one that I think is pretty darn near close, and maybe in a pinch, I'd say he's the definitive one, but it's his head sculpt. He didn't have the cocky expression as the original. Hey, focus. So he's looking serious. And I like that cockiness of the Flint head sculpt in the original. I mean, that's part of his character. He's like, shit, whatever. So I like that. This one, the classified series figure, does have a bit of a smirk. He's a little cocky, and I like that. But again, he looks like he's been fighting and brawling a little bit too long. But to me, in all areas, the Real American Hero figure still wins. Detailed belt buckles, great designs there. The gloves, they work really cool and they look great. So you got that going for it too. And we'll fix this watch, but man, this figure just has so much cool stuff to it. The great detailing on the boots. My second favorite has all that too. It's got the colors, the different patterns there. It's got the gloves. It's got the very detailed belt setup. Now you don't want to focus. Okay. There you go. You can see it. So it's got all those elements, and it's really well done. It just doesn't have the same smirk. And that's the only thing that stops this one from being the definitive Flint. But we're in a Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified series era. And I don't need them to have the third best Flint. I'd say still third, but it's not as good as the Real American Hero one. Not as good as this one. There we go. It's going back up. I mean, I'm missing that awesome backpack. So, shotgun holster is fine. But let's get the backpack in this retro version. So I think there's still a little bit of work Hasbro needs to do with this guy. to make the definitive version of Flint. But the good news is they don't have to do too much beyond that head sculpt because Recondo gets it done on so many levels for him, and they can use him as the base and they'll be all set. They just need to create one of their best head sculpts. We've seen with Jinx, we've seen with Doc, other characters, Duke, Scarlet. They're starting to crank out really great head sculpts. So let's get a really awesome one for Flint. So that's my take on the definitive Flint figure so far as of 2024. What do you guys think? Which is your favorite Flint? Is it the classified series one, or what do you want to see in the retro version? As always, thank you so much for watching. This episode of Loud's Figure Files has been filed.